Yo, what is up, guys? Grim here, and today I'm going to give you an update of what has been going on with the Delve League over the past few days. So I gave you an update on day two, and we had quite a bit of gear. It was looking pretty good. And after that day two, we went on to day three. And on day three, we made a lot of progress. And the items we picked up were the Headhunter and the Rigwald's Quills. So from around pretty much the whole league, we've been playing. Well, I've been playing a lot of solo and in a lot of 2 to 3 man groups. We haven't been doing the 6 man kind of stuff because we're kind of moving away from that a bit. A lot of our different party members are doing different kind of things. Like we got someone doing boss killing, which is pretty cool, like Shaper and stuff like that, and that's really effective for that. So our plan was to kind of split up, do our own thing, and then come together for delving, which is exactly what we've done, and it hasn't worked out too bad for us. So we got the Headhunter in day three, which was pretty cool, and I believe the rewards quills. We then moved on to day four, and we focused on getting curse gear. So we started picking up all the venomous items, which is the aspect of the spider set. I believe the gloves were like 12 exalts, which were very, very expensive, but we picked those up and the chest piece and managed to 6 link it. And then we were picking up a few other pieces like shavs, like 21 auras, all this kind of stuff. And then we also had one other big purchase, which really rounded out our team's gear, which was the Adziri's Reflection Shield, which is a very expensive shield. It costs around 20, I think, or 30 exalts. I'm not too sure quite what the price is right now, but that shield is going to be absolutely critical to doing high level delves. And the reason for that is, I'll just quickly throw this in here because I find it very interesting, is most of the monsters in Delves are actually white, blue, or rare. And the unique monsters, I'm pretty sure, are affected 100% by curses. So curses in most high-level Delve groups are going to be mandatory. And that shield has got a lot of curse effectiveness on it, making your curses incredibly powerful. So yeah, definitely going to be very, very important with that shield, with all the gear really, and that's that. So after that, we kind of moved on to just, like making more currency, looking into a few ways that we might be able to do really well in Delve, and really just exploring and trying things out. I tried out fossil farming. I tried out a few other things in the Delves to try and make a little bit of currency and stuff like that on the side. But eventually, we settled on one big strategy, which is very popular among a lot of people right now. And I'll get into that just a second. So to begin with, on day one and two, we were trying to farm up city squares, but we didn't like that one too much. The boss is quite rippy and annoying, so we moved on to courthouse, and that worked out pretty well. We farmed there for a bit, got a few exalts, and geared up generally. But after that, we moved on to the good old burial chambers, and we stayed there for quite a few days. We farmed up 7 doctors, which was quite good. Mind you, all these doctors dropped after we had the headhunter, which was a bit annoying, but we were able to sell them for more gear. But after a while, we realized that burial chambers wasn't the be all end all, and a lot of people were using a different strategy, which we decided to adopt as well. And that was the use of Zana 8. So currently, with all these new Zana mods in, it's all very new and fresh, and there's a lot of opportunity for making money. And one of those is farming tons and tons of red tier maps and guardians. And the way people are doing this is by using this Sana mod here. It says it upgrades any map to a T16 map. So what I'm and a lot of people are doing are grabbing maps like Haunted Mansion, which have very good atlas locations down here, throwing a ton of white sextants on them, like you can just run over here, put a yellow one up here, and then put 4 whites on it, which is just absolutely insane. And then you have tons and tons of monsters in that map, more than you could ever get on any Guardian map, and for a fraction of the cost of white sextants. And then you just jam this into the map device, and you're away and going. So that's pretty fantastic. However, there is one big issue with this, and that is that it randomizes all the modifiers on the map. Basically, the way you do it is you roll the map, it becomes rare, and then you randomize all the mods. It can become corrupted, it can have reflect on it, it can have no leech. You don't know. You don't get to roll it. So while this has advantages in that you don't have to vial it, you don't have to alch it, you don't have to chisel it, it has a lot of disadvantages in that you can have reflect and essentially brick a map. So we need to come up with a solution to this. I'll quickly go over my solution for my character. to these problems. So for the most part, you'll notice my gear is no longer Magic Find. And the reason for this is because I've been playing quite a lot solo, and I've been enjoying it. It's been pretty good. And I need more damage to be able to do T16 solo. So for that reason, I swapped over, and a lot of the currency is from the maps anyway, so MF isn't as important for this strategy. You can kind of have a bit more freedom with your gear. So you jam that in here, and to solve the no leech problem, I will always put on a Thief's Torment when it's no leech, which will allow me to get life on hit instead of leeching. So that'll give me mana sustain and life sustain, allowing me to do that map instead of having to reroll it and wasting 15 chaos. So that's that one. And for Reflect, I use a Sybil's Lament on my right ring slot for Physical Reflect, and I use it on my left ring slot for Elemental Reflect in combination with a 10% Reflect Immune node down here, and I'm using a Grace movement speed and a elemental damage taken, reduced, reflection reduction, whatever, watches eye over here. So that's 50, 10, and 40, which gets me 100% Reflect Immune, which is pretty good. And when I do that, I just swap out my Grace for a Purity of Elements, and that does very well for me. So that'll make me Reflect Immune, Leech Immune, and then I'm pretty much good to run any map mods. So when you've solved all those problems for your build, you can then essentially farm tons of Guardian maps, tons of red maps, and just make an absolute killing. But in addition to that, T16 maps are where all of the good soul fight gains are at. So when you're playing solo, you're definitely going to want to go for those T16 maps. If you're in a group, things get quite a bit different because you can use what's called a soul fight rota. But I'm not going to talk about in this video. My next video is going to be all about soul fight and how to get the most soul fight possible and kind of how it scales in high tier maps and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. But I want to quickly mention a few things about the mine and kind of what I've been doing in the mine. So I've been doing quite a few kind of experiments. I really wanted to get a full picture of what this league had to offer. I wanted to try farming fossils. I wanted to try doing other things in the mine, like trying Chaos Recipe in the mine, which worked out pretty cool. And I really just wanted to really get a full understanding of everything it had to offer. So right now I've done all three of the bosses in the mine. I've done the Crystal King's Throne, which is this one here, the Abyssal Lich, which I think I have another one up around here. I'll get to that in a second. And I've done the Grand Architect's Temple. Those are all really cool bosses. They are fantastically fun and really well designed. I'm not quite sure what depths they spawn at, but if you just keep going down, you will eventually find them. I just went straight down and I actually found all of them. And it's been pretty damn good. All of them drop their own unique items, some worth more than others. I think the Val boss has the worst unique drops, but we got the sword, which was particularly bad anyway. But oh well, they're all very well designed and very, very fun. So I'll be doing a lot of delve tutorials on how to farm the fossils really effectively. I know other people have talked about farming fossils, but you can take it pretty extreme and get all of the fossils really quickly, in a few minutes. But I'll talk about that and a build which I've been using for that, which uses phasing, Queen of the Forest, all this kind of stuff, which you're going to really like. And yes, just a few other things. I'll also be talking about all the biomes and where the fossils drop. I know there's a bit of stuff about that on Reddit, but I've got my own spreadsheet I plan to share with you guys. Some biomes are definitely better to farm than others. But most of all, I really want to talk about kind of how all of it is constructed and how it kind of works. There's 4 different types of lengths of delves, and they scale in different ways and are useful for different things. So I want to be talking about that. And there's just so much to this league. It's actually the best league ever. I'll just quickly sum up here with a few Azerite things. The main things I've been focusing on are getting capacity up to 2500. I'll probably bump that up to 5000. And then getting darkness resistance and light radius. In terms of flares, you can get them to a certain point. These are more for farming fossils and using trying to go for that darkness loot. If you're trying to push delves, you can completely ignore all of these. You don't need any of them. You can just focus on these, specifically these. Just one kind of final note here for people playing in groups. One thing we discovered pretty early, and it's pretty important, is that your darkness resist is based on your own mine. So you have to upgrade this individually and make sure it's up to par with the mine you're going into. So if your friend's at 300 and you're on 200 and your darkness resistance isn't up to a 300 level, then you're going to die very quickly in his mine. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys get that darkness resist and expect lots of delve content coming up now that we're kind of settled into everything and we're kind of pushing. Going forward, we will be going for as hard as we can. Not sure rank 1's on the table anymore. Empyrean seems to have that pretty locked up with his 16 mirrors and his quite strong team. But we'll definitely be going to try and take it as fast as possible and as hard as possible, and we'll see how deep we can get. I think if it gets to the point where it's kind of neck and neck, and it's more about building the proper character, crafting items, and mechanical play, as opposed to just grinding sulfite, we might have a chance to go for rank 1, but we'll see about that. Anyway, that's been my update, guys. Lots of stuff coming. Definitely check it out, and I'll see you guys real soon.